Welcome back to this segment. We're still reviewing Out of the Crowd, the book, The Ultimate Guide to Mastering the Art of Standing Out, by myself, Richard Mwebesa. Powerful book, very impactful book. I read this book 6 months after I authored it, and my question was, if it were me as the reader, would I buy this book? Wow. I was mesmerized. I said, I must meet the person who wanted this book, because the content in here is profound, it's impactful, it is very exciting. The stories that are in are very original, fresh, and authentic, and powerful. So today I'll be going through the segment about giving tips on how you can affirm your identity and authenticate your identity. And well, we all know that a name is your identity. Your name is your identity. And breaking it down further, I mean, your image, your face, your physical features, your fingerprints, these are all unique because you're a unique person. As God has created you, you're distinguished from everybody else in the world. Out of all the 8 billion people that exist today, you're unique and different. So in order for you to have a name of your own and be known and distinguishable from everybody else, there are certain things that you ought to do. And this brings me to the aspect of how you bring about a personal brand. So I'll give you tips on how to develop and build your personal brand. I'll give you 3 tips, then I will share in one other last bonus tips. So there will be 3, but 1 4th bonus tip. It is known, and it's a known fact, that knowledge is power. Only when applied to create value, and applied knowledge is only a lot of information filling up a particular space. So, number 1, how to create your personal brand is you ought to become a knowledgeable person in the field that you're in. And not just about being knowledgeable, but applying your knowledge to give value to others. I'll ask you a question. If you're known as a person in a particular field of work, say, for example, you're a mechanic, or for example, maybe a laundry person who has, say, a dry cleaning business, how would you distinguish yourself from everybody else? Or if you're an insurance agent who is selling insurance, there are things that you ought to do to yourself to polish, refine yourself, make yourself better, make yourself competitive. As I said earlier, the world is highly competitive and is looking for the best person there can ever be. Actually, not even the best. Best and just being great is no longer enough. They're looking for outstanding, that you give and deliver results that are over and above the best. So, denoting outstanding. So how do you develop your personal brand to become an outstanding person? Tip number 1 is be knowledgeable and apply yourself. Knowledge is power when applied. So what am I saying here? You ought to do research and do homework and find out how to improve yourself and what to do in your space. If you're a laundry person, do the laundry and become the best at doing your laundry there is in town. And guess what? You will be distinguishable. You have to do something extra. I always say that there is no traffic jam in the extra mile. You have to do something extra over and above what everybody else is doing. You have to put in extra in the service, the way you package yourself, the way you do what you do. So find ways to impress, to better your service, but also better your experience that you deliver to your space. If you're a mechanic, give over and above the pay, because ultimately you're making an investment. And I say relationships are currencies, and people treasure when you connect with them. So how do you become knowledgeable? Is do research about who is doing what in your field. Become the best at what you do in the field that you do. I will quote one of the most profound people I've come across. That's Sir Richard Branson. All of us might know him, of course, for his work in the different chains of businesses that he does, airlines, service business. He says, and I quote, branding demands commitment to continual reinvention. striking chords with people to stir their emotions, and commitment to imagination. It is easy to be cynical about such things, much harder to be successful. What I pick from that quote of Richard Branson is there ought to be commitment. Commitment and commitment. If you want to distinguish yourself, you have to be a committed person. Otherwise, you will never succeed, because the world out there, remember, is looking for the finest that can ever be. And in everything that you do, strike a chord with people, because once you connect with them, people are emotional beings. They want to like what you do. If they dislike what you do or do not connect with you, then there is trouble. So in the personal branding aspect, ultimately, you cannot be successful, as Richard Branson says, if you're not a committed person. So you need to continue building your personal brand. Tip number 2, how to develop and build your personal brand, is you have to have the right mental attitude. Now, this may sound cliche. I mean, we've had statements of course, having the right attitude, an attitude will give you an altitude. But what is important, I say, and in the book I say, a person with the right attitude is a person who is going to be likable. And likability is a currency. The moment you're likable, you easily connect with others. A person with a bad attitude, they always struggle, because a bad attitude stings. True story. Even when people see you with a bad attitude, they say, this person, we cannot relate with him. So you ought to have an attitude, because an attitude has an aroma. True story. I learned this. An attitude has an aroma. It can be a good aroma, a good scent, a smell, or it can be a repulsive or bad smell. When people see you with a bad attitude, they say, no, this person, no, I cannot work with him, I cannot even relate with him. So you have to keep cultivating a good positive mental attitude. 3 tips on how to develop a good positive mental attitude. Number 1, you ought to surround yourself with people of a good positive mental attitude. You're only as good as your associations. The moment you go around negative people, you will always somehow find that you always becoming negative. So choose your atmosphere and the people you surround yourselves with. Number 2, condition your environment to give you an edge of a positive mental attitude. How do you condition your atmosphere? The books you read, the movies you watch, even the music you listen to can also give you connectability with that atmosphere or environment, and even sharpen you to have a good positive attitude, because a positive attitude is contagious. It is magnetic. When a person has the right attitude, and people are always asking themselves, how does that person do it? Everyone always wants to associate with them, and it's just not so complex, just because of the mental attitude. And these are people who are lovable, who are likable, and people who are good in their hearts, and they want to associate with others and help others. Yes, with their challenges. So it is critical. The third thing about building a good positive mental attitude is by training yourself to always see the positives. I use this statement, I say always count your blessings, because if you see the mistakes, there will be many, but if you pay attention to seeing the good in every situation, trust me, when you weigh, you realize that the good is actually much more than the bad. And when you train, because it's natural for the mind to always trigger and point out the negative things or the bad things in life. It is said, psychologists say that for every 10 good things that happens, 1 bad thing will replace the 10. Now imagine 10 out of 1. So meaning that negativity is very powerful, by the way. It is very powerful in a bad way. Yeah? But if you focus on the good things, the 10 good things, and you build your heart and you frame your mind to be able to leverage those good things, ultimately you'll become magnetic and you'll become stand out, irrespective of challenges that you're seeing. Always look for the best, always look for the gold in the dirt. There's always gold in dirt. That's why gold is never on the surface. It is underground, underneath. Always dig in your heart to look for the gold. Don't look for the dirt, because as you're mining gold, there will always be dirt. There will always actually be mud. But look here, if the gold miners always looked at the mud, Would they even be motivated to look for the gold? Never. So focus on the good things, the gold. Go for the gold within you, and even when you're giving out, give out your best attitude, because that attitude is what will be between you and your next big move or your next growth. Number three, how to build your personal brand. Amplify your key strengths and leverage them to differentiate yourself. Let me tell you something, it is a fact. We are human beings and we are flawed. We have weaknesses and we have strength. Remember, in your move of standing out of the crowd, as I said, the three questions I repeat for emphasis: who am I, why am I here, and where am I headed? In that aspect of having an authentic identity. If you want to authenticate your identity, you must capitalize on your strength, because every human being under the sun has weaknesses. And the truth is, the world has a very high skill at pointing out weaknesses in people than looking and pointing out the strength. So if you're self-aware, you've self-discovered, you already know who you are, you know your purpose or your calling to be here on earth, then you know the direction you're taking, the choices you're going to make. Ultimately, you shall have a solid brand, because it is those weaknesses ultimately that will qualify your strengths. I can tell you this for a fact: strengths are hard to point out. As a matter of fact, as a coach, I've sat on many panels interviewing people, and one of the $1 million questions that is asked is, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses.